Have you ever felt like you became so obsessed with something that you completely lost sight of everything that mattered to you? Like the brighter and brighter that thing became to you, the darker and darker everything else got. And then when that thing gets further away, you discover you lost your personal identity a long time ago. In the very first scene of Shakespeare's play, Romeo says, "I have lost myself, I am not here, this is not Romeo, he's some other where." Romeo and Juliet is the story of heroic romance overcoming everything. If by heroic romance you mean tragedy.
Does something sound strangely familiar about that? Does it sound somehow like the story of your life?
Where you become so disillusioned that you struggle to come up with anything worth looking forward to? Søren Kierkegaard wrote that despair, or hopelessness, is a widespread problem. It is not a rare exception that one is in despair. No, the very rare exception is that one is not in despair. So if you want to truly understand your life, pay attention to these two lovebirds because, as Thoreau says, the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. That means that if this was not the story of your own life, it was at one point and could easily be again. If you want to overcome this giant pitfall, which could almost be called the human condition, then you had better be ready to learn about this couple, and you had better be ready to learn about yourself. Romeo's story starts in despair. His mom says, "Away from light steals home my heavy son, and private in his chamber pens himself, shuts up his windows, locks fair daylight out, and makes himself an artificial night. Black and portentous must this humor prove, unless good counsel may the cause remove." This is still very early in the story's timeline, but the truth is that Romeo's life was over before the play began. We are told in the prologue that things do not work out for these two.
And in the same way, Romeo had lost all hope in the very first scene. Romeo's love for Juliet was actually an evasion of himself.
His servant, Benvolio, looks at Romeo and makes this observation: "Alas, that love, so gentle in his view, should be so tyrannous and rough in truth." Imagine the people watching all the open disaster at the end of the play. Can't you picture them asking themselves how things got to that point? Romeo certainly didn't unalive himself because he was a Montague, and Juliet didn't leave the stage early because she was a Capulet. There were no money problems, or a lack of education, or some laws that failed to get passed. So where's the conflict? Is it in the 5th century Italy? Is it in the 21st century geopolitics? Nope. If you're going to grasp this play, then you have to see the conflict that rages inside you. The despair inside Romeo and Juliet sends each of them to their own funeral. Have you ever had one of those dreams? The more you chased after something, the farther away it got from you? Every time Romeo goes all in after something, his outlook becomes darker and darker. He was already a sob story when he was dumped by Rosalind. He tries to relationship rebound with Juliet, only to find out her family is his family's mortal enemy. He tries to advance the relationship in secret, only to find himself exiled from the woman who is now his wife. He tries to leave the stage of life, thinking that Juliet's revival is just more of life's cruel laughter at him. The more Romeo tries to find meaning in his life by lining up his external circumstances, the more inevitable his demise becomes, and the more he loses control of himself. He says, "The time and my intents are savage wild, more fierce and more inexorable, far than empty tigers or the roaring sea." But maybe Romeo had this problem because people lived badly back then and there are no vicious cycles today. If that's how you see it, may I be the first to welcome you to the mental health crisis we call the modern world? You don't have to travel to Verona, Italy to find people who are falling apart inside. There's too many examples to shake a stick at. Here's a juicy one. A 2018 study in the Journal of Marriage and Family showed that couples who lived together before marriage were more likely to end up divorced. Please don't try to tell me that things like cohabitation and divorce are outside the realm of what human beings have control over. The vicious cycle is that your relationship with other people does worse the worse you get inside. I can easily picture Romeo wondering if there was any way out of his condition.
But just how inevitable was all of this? And is there a way to make your life unfall apart?
If you want to tear yourself out of this tragedy, you are going to have to rip yourself from the ruts of your own superficial thinking. I'm certainly not going to do it for you. You know who else is not going to save you? Friar Lawrence. But he may just be able to point you down a path that could. Remember Romeo and Juliet's descent into despair? At each step, Friar Lawrence tried to remind Romeo to pause just a moment and notice what he has to be thankful for. Do you think it would have been easy for Romeo to hear he was carrying a pack of blessings on his back?
The strange thing about a thankful attitude is that you have ultimate control about how thankful you want to be. And yet, most people fritter away this option or even fail to notice that they have it.
A thankful person is a happy person. Romeo was not able to escape the tragedy of his own making. How does a person avoid such an epic downfall? The answer involves taking radical control of yourself and your options. For Friar Lawrence in the play, it means religiously helping people at the end of their ropes. For Søren Kierkegaard and myself, it's a religious movement. He says Christianity is glad tidings for the melancholy. But none of this is to amount to any answer at all until it is an answer inside your own life. Every story ends eventually, but your story doesn't have to end tragically.
Have some self-awareness in your pursuits. Learn how to be okay just being yourself, or even when you're let down.
When you make your plans, decide that you're going to be fine just being yourself. What do you do to address the despair in your life? Leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.